Welcome to this special series from SalesProcess360. I'm your guest host, Lindsay Young, president of Aspens Media. I worked with Brian Gardner, our featured speaker today, on his book, ROI from CRM. I'm really looking forward to spending time with him to dig into our special topic, the role of the CEO for CRM. How's it going today, Brian?
Fantastic, Lindsay. I mean, you're making me think about how long ago that was. I can't believe that was 7 or 8 years ago. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It was a long time ago. So let's begin by talking about how you got here. So talk a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah, no worries. All right. So I guess I start off with I grew up in the industrial sales world. I grew up in a family business. We were selling process control equipment to the chemical plants, refineries, pulp and paper. And I grew up through all phases of stages or roles. That's a better word. Roles of that business, from sweeping shelves and stocking shelves, sweeping floors and stocking shelves, to inside sales, outside sales, VP of sales. I'm a believer in sales process. And I'm going to date myself a little bit here. This is in the late 90s that I was doing this. And again, believer in process. And so CRM was not even an acronym back then. It was SFA, Salesforce Automation. And we were, I think, on Maximizer at the time. And some people were on ACT and, standard personal information systems and, Eggshell and stuff like that. And so I said, let's automate some of these processes with this software. And so that's what we did. And long story short, we implemented it in our company, and I caught the bug. I caught the bug for how you can leverage technology with sales process improvements. And that's what I'm passionate about. And so, left that. I'm strictly consulting in the industrial market for companies on how to leverage this and how to use CRM for a competitive advantage. And I guess why I'm really passionate about it, Lindsay, is I saw what it could do if implemented properly. And in the business, the family business I was in, we tripled our business in about 6.5 years with all internal growth. Internal growth, not acquisitions, not buying other companies, internal growth. And I believe until I retire from this business that I believe that because we leveraged the CRM for better managing the front end of the sales cycle and sharing and leveraging information, we were taking rifle shots, so to speak, at where we were going to go and grow the business. And we used the data to help us make those decisions. So, that's why I'm passionate about this, because I see what it can do if implemented properly.
Amazing. So you, with my support, wrote a book called ROI from CRM, which we've already alluded to. What was the main message in that book? I just want to set the stage a little bit for what we're going to talk about
today. I think it lies in the subtitle. What's the subtitle? It's all about the sales process, not the technology.
Right.
So many companies look at CRM as a technology initiative or a project. And it is, but underlying it really is to improve the sales process and to leverage team selling and leverage the front end of the sales cycle. Most companies have ERP systems, and they need to have ERP systems, right? ERPs manage the back end of your business from typically quote to order, and CRM manages the front end of the business from, prospect to lead to opportunity to quote as well. Some people are quoting out of the CRM or CPQ systems, but it's about the sales process. It's not just about the technology, and should be positioned as a team solution. And so that's really what the message in the book was, that it's not about just technology, it's about sales process and team selling.
And to kind of go on a tangent from there, when you say team selling, are you just talking about sales reps, or are you talking about the entire organization?
No, good question. And so I'm a believer. I think where you get the most out of CRM inside your company is when you look at it as a true team with regards to all the different roles of touch points in your company, from inside sales to outside sales to marketing to product support, anyone. So another, think about this as well. What does CRM stand for? Customer Relationship Management, right? Well, when I say that, most companies go to, well, it helps us manage our customers, and our customers are the Exxons, the Shells, and the power plants and all the companies that buy from you. And I guess, but it also helps you manage the internal customers to each other. And all of the roles inside of a company are I believe, customers to each other. And CRM can become that hub to share and leverage that information with your internal customers from the different roles. And that's when companies, I think, really get the value and the ROI out of CRM, and when they position it as a true team solution.
Thank you for clarifying that. So what's the landscape then today? Because, we worked on that book, 8-9 years ago, and you've been doing this a long time, so you've seen a lot of shifts. So what's the landscape today for technology and business, compared to when, you first worked?
So technology today, I believe technology today is outpacing companies' ability to leverage it.
That's a good point.
I mean, technology is moving at the speed of light. I mean, all those, whatever you can think of, people said, right? And it's true. And so what's the shiny new toy today? And that is AI. And, different people have different things, and I believe it's fantastic. But I also believe companies, a lot of times, are not ready for the true power of AI today. I believe companies need to get their house in order, so to speak, with their data governances, their data, their product taxonomies, and how do they build CRM to leverage AI. So I think there's some basic AI stuff that can be used, but I think in most cases, and again, I'm talking I focus in the industrial markets. I want to be very clear. I mean, I'm talking, that's the world I live in. But to summarize, I believe technology is outpacing companies' ability to leverage it. So they got to step back and say, okay, let's not get overwhelmed here. Let's look at how we're going to leverage this technology today. And sometimes I think you've got to get your house in order first to be able to leverage that technology. Another thing that's changing in the landscape is the changing of the guard. What I mean by that is I think there's a younger sales force getting in. You've got people that are retiring. And I will tell you, every company that I work with, the younger sales team, inside outside sales team, they're craving for technology, and CRM is part of that. And they want to know, where's the CRM system, or what CRM system are you on, So I didn't see that 8 years ago like I'm seeing it today. And then another thing that's changing the landscape was COVID. I think COVID really changed the landscape with regards to technology and people figuring out how to use technology. Think of Zoom and Teams and all those, they exploded during COVID, right? And so with regard to that, from the CRM side of technology, I believe companies, I don't believe it, I've seen it and I heard it. Companies that did not have CRM in place during COVID really struggled. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't have those water cooler conversations. They didn't have those sales meetings that they could all get together and collaborate on, And so, they collaborated on Teams or Zoom or whatever, but they didn't have the data and the information. And so, again, I think COVID helped with technology and advancing technology. And again, CRM was part of that.
I mean, 8 years ago feels like a long time, and it also doesn't feel like a long time ago. So when you to imagine how much has actually changed in that time period, it's pretty mind blowing, actually.
No, it is, and it's exponential, I think. And again, I'll never forget something I read so long ago, and I know this is not relevant, but just think about this. Something I read long time ago by Michael Dell. There was an interview that I read that someone interviewed Michael Dell, and they asked the question. This was back at the 286 and 386 processor days, right? Remember those days? Mm-hmm. And someone asked the question to Michael Dell, when will fast be fast enough? I mean, they were in a race for the fastest processor, and Michael Dell's answer was when the computer acts and does before you ask it or do something, it thinks for you. And that's kind of where we are with AI a little bit, right? I mean, so anyway, just the technology, but it comes back to, you have to leverage it, you have to harness it. You've got to drive what you want to do with that technology.
Right. It goes back to it's really about the process, not necessarily technology.
There's no question. And then what's the process you're going to use? What are the processes you're trying to improve with technology, right? Whether it's quote follow-up, whether it's lead qualification, whether it's target account management, whether it's analyzing data, within CRM to decide where the white space is and where you're going to go attack with new products or services to help you make those decisions. That's the kind of thing I think that CRM and with technology can help you.
Amazing. So the topic we're covering in this series is part of all of that message, right? The people on the team that make it happen. So in particular, what we're calling and what you're calling the CEO for CRM. So what is the CEO for CRM? What is that?
Well, it's a big question.
It's a big question.
But I think it all starts with the title. What is the title? CEO for CRM. And that's what that person needs to be. They need to be the CEO for driving the CRM initiative and project, not only from the beginning, but after it's up and running. And we'll talk about that in a second. So that CEO for CRM ultimately is the advocate for CRM, and driving that initiative, that project within the company. I find that a lot of companies don't have a CEO for CRM, or they've said, okay, we're going to turn this over to the IT department, which we'll talk about in a second, which I'm not a believer in. I think they should be involved, but I don't think they should be the CEO for CRM. I think this is a sales project, so to speak, and it needs to be driven by the sales management. So let's even step back on this. So how I came up with this title of CEO for CRM, which by the way, I feel when I say it, people you kind of get that picture, the light bulb goes off. Okay, I get that. So how did it come about? I was a little quick story, if I could. I was finishing an audit, a CRM audit at a client that was actually on what they call CRM 2.0 project, meaning this was their second attempt at CRM. They brought me in to do an audit. Okay, so I spent a day and a half to 2 days with them, and had gotten all my information through this audit. And I was heading back to the hotel to fly out the next morning. And the CEO of that company asked me a very pointed question in the car. He said, Brian, you've been with us for 2 days now. Why do you think we are on CRM 2.0? Why are we bringing you in here? And why did we not succeed with CRM 1.0? And I knew he wanted an answer real quick. He wanted a very pinpoint answer. And so I'm sitting there thinking, and all of a sudden it just came to me. I said, and it was true. I said, Steve, I think why you're on CRM 2.0 is because you do not have a CEO for CRM. And when I said that, I could instantly see that he got that. And I said, your interim CEO, what I'm calling your CEO for CRM, is really not a CEO for CRM. They're an operational manager, and they've got some IT background, but they're not sales management. They don't understand, and it's not their fault. They haven't lived in the sales and sales management world. Mm-hmm. And I said, for a company to be successful, you need to have again, I started using this word, but at that time I said, you need to have a CEO for CRM. And again, instantly I knew that he got it. I got it. It made sense. It kind of put a framework around that. To the degree of how much I believed in that he got that message of a CEO for CRM, that night when I got to the hotel, I went and bought the domain name.
That's great. That's how much it resonated, right?
That is how much it resonated. I felt it. Okay? I felt it. So that was probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Time flies. I've been using that term ever since, and hence that's why, again, we're talking here and I'm wanting to maybe write a book about all the things of a CEO for CRM, because I think it does resonate. I've even have another client that they've changed their title to VP of Sales / CEO for CRM, and they have it on their LinkedIn page as that.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's so important. This role, I think, is so important for the success. I know I diverted here a little bit from that.
That's a great story.
This role, I think, is so important for a successful CRM launch and implementation. And again, that role doesn't just start with the project. It starts with, the real work starts after the CRM is implemented and driving adoption. So
amazing. So you're mentioning people who are internal to the organization. Can it be someone you bring in from the outside, or is the best option internally? Either or?
Yeah. Good question. Ultimately, Lindsay, that CEO for CRM needs to be internal.
Okay.
They ultimately need to be internal, and they need to be, typically what I find is someone in sales management, and but it needs to be internally. Now, with that being said, another story. I've got another client I'm working with as we speak right now that I did an audit for. I did a CRM audit for 4 years ago, probably. Okay. They did nothing. They didn't. They didn't have. They did not have a CRM. So they're starting from. They're not a CRM 2.0 or whatever. They had no CRM. So I reached back out to them, just following up, and I asked how things are going, and their comment was timely that you called. We were just talking about that. This was the CEO of this company as well, and they told me, they said, Brian, we haven't done anything yet. Okay, with CRM. Because I remember something, this is them telling me, I remember something you said during the audit, and that is we needed to have a CEO for CRM. His comment was, I lost my CEO for CRM. They left the business, pursue another. Okay. And since then, I haven't identified who that CEO for CRM is. And I said, okay, I understand. But anyway, also they're telling me back 4 years ago, they remembered that phrase, CEO for CRM.
Amazing.
So I said, okay. I said, do you feel like though you need to? He said, no question. We know we need to implement CRM, but we don't have. I said, okay, fine. Do you have someone in mind that would be that CEO for CRM? And his comment was, yep, I do. I said, okay, well, what if you look at bringing us on board to be the wingman to that CEO for CRM and train them through the process and help through the implementation as the wingman, and then ultimately turning over the keys to them once the time is right. Light went off, he got it, and basically 2 to 3 weeks later, we're engaged and we're moving down the road of implementing CRM. And I'm working with that ultimate CEO as the wingman to CRM, as the wingman to on this project. So anyway, again, another long-winded story on that, but that just kind of connects the dots on it should be internal, but sometimes that person might not have the experience or the bandwidth in the beginning, and they need to be coached through the process.
That makes sense. And so speaking of, not just anyone could probably play that role and be successful. So what should you look for? What are the key attributes that make a good CEO for CRM? I mean, this is probably a long list, but.
Yeah, I'll say. So let me just, I guess, at the high level, look at what are some of the key things that I think they should be. First off, they need to be a respected sales leader in their organization with the power to make change, because this is change. Let's not fool ourselves. This is change, okay, which is not always easy. So they need to be a respected leader. They also need to believe in the value of what ultimately CRM can be. You can't hide that, okay? Your team will see right through that if you're truly not a believer. So that CEO needs to be a believer in this. Another key thing is I think they need to truly understand all the different roles that are going to be involved in the CRM, from inside sales, outside, product specialist, marketing. Whether they lived in those roles or they need to truly understand that, because ultimately they're going to have to make decisions on how CRM needs to be built to bring that team together. And them understanding those roles makes them a better CEO for CRM, because they've lived it or they understand it. Because again, back to that whole team selling concept, right? It needs to be positioned as that. And this is a big one. This is a tough one. They need to have the bandwidth in some form or fashion to be able to manage this and work this project. Now, again, this company that I'm working with, I just told a story about, we're being the wingmans and CEO for CRM. We're taking a lot of that bandwidth off, but ultimately, when the keys are turned over, they need to have the bandwidth to keep the momentum going. So. Those are some of the high level. Other key things are they need to have experience with a CRM as a plus. They need to be a good listener and a team builder. You're going to have to build the team together. You're going to have to motivate the team. You're going to have to, sell the why, on this whole thing. IT, you need to have IT savvy. You don't need to be an IT specialist, but you need to understand how the technology works. How technology works with the integration stuff. Maybe with ERP and with APIs, with Outlook integration stuff, and data information that we might want to bring in and import in. And they need to bring the team together. And again, part of this, their job is to sell this change management.
Right, which brings me, you've mentioned this a couple of times already, but one big role, like you said, is as a change driver, right? And so that's really critical. So maybe we kind of dive a little bit more.
I just gave a presentation to a group of sales executive, SLT group, sales executive leadership team. And I was asked to talk about CRM optimization. And, one of the things I talked about, I asked the question, I said, what does CRM stand for, right? And the obvious is obviously customer relationship management. I've also used the funny line or the funny acronym called cost real money, but then there's another one, and that is, I don't know what the R is, but it's change management. Plug in an R, figure an R out that fits in that. But change management is that's what CRM is about. You're changing culture, you're changing people's habits, you're changing the way you're doing business. And it's not easy. There's no easy button. You're changing culture. Who moved my cheese? People, it's like they're in their comfort zone, and now you're going to take them out of their comfort zone. So, but it's all about change management.
So, Brian, just to clarify, we're talking about the CEO for CRM having a role across a company's entire CRM journey, from implementation to post-implementation. Correct?
No question. It's not a one and done, so to speak. It needs to become part of the company culture, and that role needs to exist pre and post CRM, pre and then post implementation. Now, whether it's the same person or not, I think that's another question. But I think that is an important role within a company, whether it's a fractional or whatever. There needs to be focus on the CRM. It's not just about the technology. You're gonna again, it's back to that change management. So you're gonna have to drive change within your company. In the beginning, on the pre side of this, they're organizing and assembling their team and stakeholders to get people on the CRM bus with them, and help design the system such that it meets the needs of the company. And then once it's up and running, it's now managing it to make sure that the adoption is there and they're using the tool the way it should be used to get the value and the ROI and the competitive.
Awesome. So this is probably, an obvious question, but would you say the CEO for CRM is just as important in the success of a CRM project as the technology itself?
Is there something greater than 100%? Yes, 100%. It's so important. And again, I'll validate that or I'll give you some backing of why I believe that. First off, technology. What did we say earlier? I said the technology is outpacing the ability for the company to leverage it, right? So the technology's there. You take your CRM players, you know who they are, your big players out there. They have the technology there. They're not going to be short on functionality or features for a company. And in most cases, I'm a believer in a phased approach to CRM. That's part of the CEO for CRM's job, is to map out the phases, so you don't want to tackle this all the time. You go in phases. And in most cases, phase 1 through 3, you're not going to outpace the CRM technology company. So that CEO for CRM is going to be so important to leverage that. So yes, the answer to your question, it's yes, 100%.
Do you see, when you're talking to companies, do you see anybody that has kind of a general misunderstanding of what a CEO for CRM could do, or common mistakes that a company could make when they're tapping a leader for CRM for the organization?
Yeah. Yes, no question. First off, their first mistake is they don't think that they need one. Okay. And to back that up, I'm either working with clients that have not implemented CRM yet, or they have some makeshift, or they're a glorified Excel or Smartsheet CRM system, right? Or they're on a what? They're on a redo. Okay. I've got a client that was calling it, back to that, when I came up with the name CEO for CRM, title came to my head. That company was calling it the CRM 2.0. I'm working with a company right now that's calling it CRM 3.0.
Whoa.
Okay. Any company that's looking at a redo, what is the common denominator that I find when I get in there and start really peeling back the onion with a company and looking at what's going on there? The common denominator is they do not have a CEO for CRM. In the sales management position, all the things we talked about, the roles of, the characteristics of that person, they don't have one. So that is the first thing I look for within a company. And that's another thing that I look for. Say, if a company is not committed, this is a people can take this statement negative or whatever. I don't know, but I mean, it's just what I believe. And that's okay. I tell them that's okay. If a company has not committed to have designating a CEO for CRM, then in a lot of cases, I might say maybe the timing is not right for us to work together. That's a bold statement. Okay,
yes,
I get it. But I also, I believe in that so strongly that I don't want to spend their money and time and ultimately not be positioned for success, just as I don't want to be in position for success. So back to, that. So that answers that other question. Just asked me about, do I agree that that's important? That's how important I believe it is that I've had those conversations with clients or potential clients, that they need to truly have a CEO and be committed to that, having the CEO for CRM.
That's big.
So anyway, but back to the question about what they're maybe not doing. So they think that some companies think that CEO for CRM needs to be a technology person, not a sales management person. Okay, I don't believe in that. They think that this role is just to get CRM implemented. That it's a short term. It's depending on what they're doing, 6 month to 9 month project, and they're off back. I'll just need that person to kind of be a project manager. Let's say the person's not a project manager. They have project managers on their team. They're driving the vision, and it's not just during the first phase of the pre part of the project. It's the post as well, and that's probably the most critical, is the post, which we'll talk about maybe in another series, other talks. So those are some of the mistakes from that side. They don't think this, another thing, here's another one. They don't believe, or they don't position a person in that role as a true sales management. They might hire someone in sales, but remember I said earlier that person needs to have respect amongst the team. They need to, that's so important. So important. And again, back to, they don't believe that this role is needed. Like I said, I see that a lot. Why do we need that? Well, who's going to drive the change management? So anyway, hopefully that answered, IT, they look at his IT, they don't put in a sales manager. They don't think they need this person. They think that this role is more of a project manager and not kind of a long-term commitment to the success of this investment.
All good points. Before we close out this episode in our series, Brian, is there anything you want to leave the listeners with regarding the CEO for CRM?
Well, maybe just in high level of just CRM. I mean, I tell companies all the time, if you're not ready for CRM and you don't want to make the commitment of all the things, there's no easy button. Like I said earlier, if you don't want to make the commitment to the time and investment, both people's time and the investment, and just the change management that it might cause too much disruption in your company. Your company might not be ready for that disruption. That's fine. Don't do this. My real message is, don't do this until you're truly committed and ready to take this on, because if this was easy, I wouldn't be dealing with CRM 2.0 and CRM 3.0, and you can go read all of the success rates out there on this. You have to be committed to making the change, and committed to doing this. And again, I think it also, what I've seen lately, again, back to this whole series, it starts with the CEO for CRM. You have to have that person driving the project.
Awesome. All right. Well, then that wraps up today's episode. And I guess we encourage the listeners to look for the next in this series, when we'll go a little bit deeper into each of the stages of CRM. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Lindsay.